Good morning, DSU. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Thursday to you, and I am excited to have you guys join us this morning. We have an amazing panel, and I'm looking forward to this discussion that we're going to talk about. So, when I was going to say Wednesday, but March is Women's History Month, and as you guys know, our Office of URELAH does our leadership development sessions. And in March, we bring some amazing women here to talk about their experiences and their journeys, to answer some questions from you all, and just for us to get some insight as to how we can navigate through the world of, professionalism. So we're going to have questions and answers at the end of the session. Please engage for those of our students who are on. If your name is not listed as your full name, please make sure you change that because that's how I'm doing attendance. And I will send a reminder about that. Feel free to use the chat room. And today we are welcoming back DSU alum Kaylynn Pride, a proud Hornet. She's going to be our moderator today. So Kaylynn, thank you for joining us. Ladies, thank you for joining us. And let's get started. One more thing, I'm sorry, Kaylynn. For my DSU Hornets, please remember you have to be on the call at the end of the session. Complete your survey to win the Grubhub gift card. I think I'm doing two today. All right, so stay on, make sure you're on. I will get your names, and I look forward to this great discussion. Kaylynn, thank you so much.
Yes, good morning, students. Happy Thursday. More importantly, happy Women's History Month. I'm so excited that Miss Craig brought me back. Oh, hey, Miss Terry, I see you in there. I see you. I'm so happy to be a proud alum being back virtually, but I'm there's always love for my Hornet family. And with that being said, it's Women's History Month. For those of you who don't know, but you all should already know, that is an annual month that highlights the contributions that women have made to history and the contemporary society. And this morning, we have some really boss women. We have some boss women that are going to speak before you, more specifically, women executives in the workplace. All right. So this morning's workshop is called How Did We Get Here? And I'm going to ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves and just tell us, in a few minutes, 2-3 minutes tops, a little bit about what they do and why they are such a boss. All right. So first, I'd like to introduce Ms. Tamara and Smith. She is the executive director for Teach for America. Good morning, Tamara.
Good morning. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tamara Smith, and I have the honor of serving as the Executive Director of Teach for America Delaware. I will make it less than 3 minutes. So I'll just share some highlights. One, again, I'm just happy to be here. I am born in Philly, raised in South Jersey, proud HBCU grad myself from Spelman, also the oldest daughter of two first-generation college graduates who are also HBCU grads, Lincoln University, and the older sister of an HBCU grad, Howard. I always like to start my story with that because education and my pride for all HBCUs runs deep. And it's also a huge part of my why. I've had the honor of serving as the executive director since September of 2018, but I've spent over the last 20 years in education as a whole. I have been a school teacher, a school administrator, again, also nonprofit leader as I am now. I've worked as a consultant, and I have also spent a brief time on the Hill working on education policy as well as healthcare policy. What makes me a boss is truly, honestly, all of the women, especially Black women, who have poured into me alongside my journey, whether as a ninth grade English teacher or as a vice principal in North Philly, or even as a consultant when I was living in Connecticut. All of those women who have and continue poured into me have what made me a boss, someone who is centered in education, in community, in my people, and really always focusing on just how I can make my community better and stronger. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate that, how, why you said you're a boss. And I want all of you ladies to do that, once you finish, telling everyone who you are, but I want you to really touch on why you are a boss this Women's History Month and always. All right, next up, we have Olivia Green. She is the Client Relations Manager at Athletes First. Good morning, Olivia.
Good morning, Kaylynn, and good morning to all of you guys. I'm very honored to be on this panel with all of these amazing women. I am originally from a very small town called Indiana, Pennsylvania. Then we moved to Delaware, where I went to Middletown High School. And as much as I loved Delaware, I realized that was not where I wanted to continue my education. So I went to the University of Pittsburgh and pursued a degree in information science as well as business marketing. I actually worked in IT for about 4 years in Pittsburgh, corporate IT, and then realized that that really wasn't my passion. I ended up doing an internship with the Pittsburgh Steelers while I was in school, and really, really enjoyed working in sports, and especially seeing that there weren't that many women that looked like me in this field. So figured I didn't have kids, I didn't have a husband at the time, still don't, not at the time, still don't, but realized that that was probably the best time to pursue, this passion of mine and see where it could go. So I went to Carnegie Mellon, which is also in Pittsburgh, to pursue my master's in entertainment industry management. Moved out to Los Angeles to finish out, my last year in the program, and that's kind of where I started my journey, getting into sports on the agency side, which again, I had no idea was even a career. Growing up, no one looked like me doing that. So seeing that this whole different side of sports really opened my eyes to it. So I've been doing that ever since. I am currently a client manager, and we can get into that a little bit later, but essentially I help our athletes with all of their ventures off the field. So that could be as simple as helping them, make a dinner reservation, or it can be as complicated as helping them start up a foundation. So any questions you guys have, I'm happy to answer, but that's kind of where my journey started. And the reason I'm a boss is because I am the only African-American woman in my company. And I have seen my mom, who actually is Dr. Cassandra Green, who works at Dell State. I've seen her be in these spaces and navigate these spaces, and seeing how she did it really helped me in my journey of how I'm able to navigate that. So I'm a boss because of my mom.
Yeah, shout out to the moms, those women are the foundation. They're the ones who raised us to be who we are today. So shout out to mom for sure. All right, let's move on. We have Leonora Miller. She is the Employee Resource Group Program Manager at which company are you at, Leonora? Uh-oh, can you hear? Nope, I don't think we can hear you. Uh-oh, I see you're unmuted though. Try replugging your headphones in and out. All right. Well, all right. She's gonna come back in, but we're gonna come back to her. So next we're gonna have Nashela Wilson. She is the executive director of AWM Operations DEI Program Manager at JP Morgan. Okay, long title.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name, like Kaylynn said, is Nashela Wilson. I come by my journey a little bit different than most. I'm not from the area. I'm originally from the Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, actually. 32 square miles, where most people know everybody, or the person of the person of the person. So maybe not unlike Delaware in that way as well. I have been with JP Morgan for since 2001, actually, since I graduated from college. So I like to tell people that I grew up here. Everything about my career has been with the people who have helped me to really grow and continue to progress my career in the ways that I needed to. I have done so many things across asset and wealth management, which is a line of business. There are 4 lines of business across JP Morgan Chase, but I'm in the asset and wealth management business. And I've spent the majority of my time in different roles in this line of business. So I've become somewhat of a pretty much an expert, if you will, on various things. And most of that time has been within operations. Most college students don't really know or understand operations. I think a lot more colleges and universities these days are focusing on operations as a track for people to, as a major for people to major in. If you want to know anything about operations, please call me. I can give you a lot of details. But at the highest level, it pretty much means that you are usually the back office team working to make everything run smoothly for our clients and our front office teams. So anywhere from reconciling cash balances, anywhere from setting up accounts, doing KYC, which is know your client, all those types of things. Currently, I am the program manager for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion program within Asset and Wealth Management Operations. I've been doing this, I'm going to be a year coming up in a few days, actually. And I'm really excited to be here. Why am I a boss? I think that I am a boss because I always have a growth mindset. I'm not closed. I'm always open to hearing what can be next. I'm always asking for where I can fit in. Now, I don't always say yes to what's being offered, but I want to be open to considering those things. And so I feel like that has helped me over my career to continue to grow and get more advancement within my career. Thanks, Kaylynn.
Thank you. And I just realized, because you're so far away, hey, Nashela, we know each other. I just realized.
I should have mentioned that I am a member of the greatest sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and Kaylynn is one of my sorors. So yes.
Yeah. Hey, soror, you're so far away. If you were up close, I'd be like, oh, hey, girl. All right, we have Leonora. She is back online. Can I hear you? Can we hear you? Oh, no, girl. Wait a minute. We still can't hear you. Am I the only one? I'm just checking in. No? Okay. Leonora, I want you to try one more time. I know we heard you earlier. Okay. Well, while she okay, try to get back on. While she's figuring that out, I'm going to move on to Kimberly Hall. She is the VP of Enterprise Data Center at Capital One. Hey.
Hi, thank you. I'm excited to be here with all of you, all these boss ladies, coupled with the students. And I have some similarities with some panel members. Tamara, not Tamara, right? Tamara.
You got it. That's right.
Okay. So my daughter is a freshman at Spelman. I sit on the board at Teach for America, the DC region. So all the things there. But I am Kimberly Hall. I am a vice president at Capital One. I've been at Capital One almost 3 years now in our data organization. And so data, we know, is such a hot thing right now when you think about whether it's artificial intelligence, all the data we're collecting on people, what can we do with it from an analytics perspective and customer service standpoint too, while balancing the ethics of it all. Prior to Capital One, I led the New York, the Technology Transformation Office for the New York Federal Reserve Bank. And I'm a native Washingtonian and live in Maryland now, so I would commute to New York each week for that. So it was an awesome role, awesome opportunity. Professionally speaking, prior to that, I've got public and private experience. I worked in the government for quite some time, always in technical roles, like leading technical teams, whether it was application development efforts or program management office like things, business process reengineering, those types of roles. Started my career in consulting, which was really cool because I'm someone who likes a fair amount of change. So it gives you the opportunity to come into an environment, a client site, learn the challenges of the business, be empathetic to what those different clients might be going through and kind of come up to speed and deliver. So all of that was by way of my HBCU, Hampton University, where I studied computer science. I'm a proud third generation HBCU graduate. My parents went to St. Augustine University, which is having a little bit of challenges now. Hopefully they stay open. In North Carolina, my grandfather went to Howard, and my grandmother, who's 106, is a graduate of Houston Tillotson University in Austin, Texas. So I stand on the shoulder of giants, absolutely. My mom and grandmother are a large part of why I consider myself a boss. I think, like Olivia, being in spaces where you're the only one, is certainly being in technology, you're dealing with the female aspect of it and the racial aspect too, just in terms of numbers and kind of seeing yourself. So I would say that's a little bit of my journey and a little bit of why I'm a boss.
Love that. Love to hear it. Okay, Leonora, we have you back. How about now? Uh-oh, unmute. Unmute yourself.
Testing. Can you hear
There
me?
we go. Yay.
Okay.
Yes, we can
Okay.
hear you.
Excellent. Thank you. Sorry about all those technology issues this morning. Good morning, everyone. I am so glad to be here. Leonora Miller. I am the Employee Resource Group Program Manager here at Vanguard. Who is Leonora? So I actually spent about 2 decades in technology. I am a transformation leader. Typically, I say to individuals, DE&I just happens to be my product. Before joining Vanguard, I was with one of our other panelists today, where I spent a considerable amount of time leading different technology transformation projects and was part of advancing Black Pathways. I was an ambassador for advancing Black Pathways, as well as one of the ERG co-leaders for BOLD. And prior to that, I was at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia in IT. I am a proud mother of 2 adult children and a 9-year-old grandson. I know I look like I just graduated from college. I have a degree in organizational management and organizational leadership. I often say to leaders, I can come into chaos, I just cannot stay there. I have lived in the Delaware Valley my entire life. I have lived in Delaware for about 20 years. Last year, I was the keynote speaker for DSU's Deep Day. I am a self-published author. I'm a licensed clergy member, and my latest book is called Be the Change. Why am I the boss? I am the one who has beat a plethora of odds. I was a teenage mother, put myself through college. I have been able to work at some large organizations, the #1 Children's Hospital, one of the top 5 US banks, and now I sit here at Vanguard, one of the largest asset wealth management organizations. I am the one that can get stuff done, anything from incorporating your business and setting up a 501c3 or leading large transformational projects for global organizations. I tell individuals that you have the power to be the change. No matter what you have faced in your past or the current challenges you face today, you have the power to do what you want to do and continue to soar in your dreams. I'm glad to be with you all today.
Ooh, I'm pretty sure all of us just received a word. Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much. And you look good. You know, you said 9-year-old grandchild. I said, where? Where? You look great, and so do all of you. And so, because we are here this morning speaking to college educated students, yes, soon to be degreed students, we're going to claim it. I want all of you to answer this first question for me. In your own words, what steps did you take during your undergraduate years and your early career to prepare to transition into corporate? And were there any challenges that you may have faced or internalized, or did you internalize any sexism or anything? Could you elaborate on that?
I can start. I think from my perspective, when I look at my undergrad experience, one of the things that was really helpful in kind of preparing for the outside world were internships and co-ops. So I definitely took advantage of that. I was in college in the 90s. So tech was definitely, it was still hot now, but it was definitely sort of, kind of up and coming there. Being at a HBCU, it provided a ton of kind of insular support, like we were on the journey together. So I leveraged my classmates as we compared notes for what we faced when we went off into our respective like interns and co-ops and whatnot. I think in terms of my particular industry being in computer science or technology, I definitely faced sort of the stereotype of, oh, you must be this major or that major, or you can't be going into this particular field. So again, having the support system of the college professors and whatnot and my kind of core group, it was helpful to kind of talk through that. And then, like I said, in kind of my opening, like having parents who, even though my mom was an educator, retired educator, still having sort of folks to kind of speak with and bounce things off of, and then having mentors that matter too. All of those things were super helpful, and mentors are things you have kind of at varying stages in your career. From my perspective, you have people when you're in college, it could be an upperclassman that you look at that it feels like, oh, this person's doing the thing. And so it could be that person that you're connected with that kind of gives you sort of some mentorship, some coaching advice, that sort of thing. Those things kind of evolve as you are in the work industry. And I think you meet different people kind of in different ways that can kind of help. But we can talk more about the importance of mentorship a little bit later. But I think that is really key in terms of both college and once you graduate.
And I'll just add to that. I was going to say internships, take the opportunities that are there, even if you're not 100% sure it's an industry that you want to follow. I never saw myself in even joining the education industry and becoming an administrator and a nonprofit executive. I thought it was on my way to law school as a poli-sci major. But still, the internships that I had in undergrad, working for a member of Congress then, again, also working just for other folks, those life lessons that you will learn in observing business strategy and all those pieces, you will remember them and you will take nuggets with you, even if it isn't specifically in a field that you might not see yourself in. And then I'll just add on to what Kimberly said, pouring into those who pour into you, nurturing those relationships, your mentors, that is key. You heard me say that at the beginning. I am who I am because of the women who poured into me. And yes, my parents very much so. I will own the bias also, of course, from my mother and all the other women, but I am who I am because I nurtured those relationships with those women and those folks who poured into me as much as they made sure I was supported. I have moved up and down 95 corridor, just wherever my career has taken me, where the opportunity is, I go. And I've only been able to be as successful because when I got there, there were women there to pull me in, to mentor me, and for me to give back to them as well. And start that activity now and start that process now.
Yeah, I loved that you both touched on the importance of internship opportunities as well as mentorship. I know when I was at Dell State just a few years back, I tried my darndest to have an internship just about every summer or semester or something. I tried my best to make sure I had experience because as important as academics is, which it is, it's really important to have that hands-on experience while you are pursuing your undergraduate degree as well. So that, when you get out of college, for those who are listening, it's not just, oh, I had good grades, but I actually put in the work outside of the classroom, which is important. And you both also touched on the importance of mentorship. The reason why I am on this call moderating is because of my mentor, Miss Danielle Craig. Shout out to you. And I love her so much. But I want to hear a little bit from Olivia as well as Leonora in terms of mentorship. I want to know, what role did mentorship play in your career advancement and then ultimately your long-term success?
I can start. And so I think one of the things that we don't do a good job of teaching those in college early is the difference between mentorship, coaching, and sponsorship. And so it is great to have mentors. So they are there to help guide you along the way. You can have some conversations with some psychological safety. They can connect you, they can build your network. They are there to support you, but then you always want to make sure that you have someone that's coaching you on your executive presence or what you really did well, what you could adjust. And then you have those advocates, those sponsors. And what we often say is, what are people saying about you when you're not in the room? And so your advocates are there for when someone brings up your name and they say, oh, she was really great in that, but she still needs to improve in this. And so we don't think this is the time for her to have that opportunity. You want an advocate in that room to say, yes, she was great at those 3 things, and those 2 things we know she needs to tighten, but we're going to be there to build her network, to support her, to guide her, to give her some stretch assignments. And so the mentoring is good, but I would also say also blend it with some coaching and some advocacy. For me, because I did not do traditional education, where I was away at college and things of that nature. I literally worked full time and went to school at night. And then I did reverse. I worked full time and then went to school at night. And so my journey was slightly different. And so I didn't get into the mentoring and advocacy stage until much later in my career. And today I still have that. So I have what we call a board. And so those are our senior leaders across different industries where we are just still having check-ins to say, where are you at on your career journey? What are some things that you're looking to do? These are things that you said you were going to do in 2022. Are you on track? Are they still on your list for 2024? Where do we need to lean in? Where do we need to partner with you? And so now I just have a professional board where I am using them to do the mentoring and coaching. And more so here at Vanguard, I have advocates who are saying, these are the skills that she brings. This is the type of talent we know that we need for this multi-year project that is coming up. And they're the ones that are advocating for me to put my name in the hat. It is very important that you have someone beside you, because what you will also notice sometimes is people that look like us, there's few of us in the room. And oftentimes the people that don't look like us, whether they are Black males or males of another color, they are getting chances because oftentimes they are spending lots of other time with each other and they're just naturally navigating. And so I try to balance my network with people that look like me and people that don't look like me, also because it helps me learn some of the ways that they are getting ahead that they may not bring us in the room to share.
Yeah, I could definitely piggyback off of what Leonora said. It's crazy how we're all in different industries, but we all have similar experiences on that end, especially working in a male sport like football. Not only is it a male sport, so you don't really see women on the coaching and front office side, but you also don't see that many women on the business side of it. So having an advocate that was a male, he's a white male, who's an agent, really opened a lot of doors for me personally, because there are a lot of rooms that I couldn't be in. One, just not being an agent, but also being a woman in those spaces that he would bring me into. And I had a lot more opportunities than some of my other counterparts who weren't tied to an advocate like him. So I can heavily attest to the fact that I had huge mentors in my life, but that having that advocate is so important. And it doesn't necessarily have to be someone that looks like you or that, you know, you really have much in common with, but some potential goes in the room, you know, batting for you, especially when you're not there. That's helped me in so many more levels than I have time to explain right now. So I can heavily attest to that. I also had a mentor when I was an undergrad. I went to the University of Pittsburgh, which not an HBCU. So going into that space, I had a young Black woman who's my mentor and is still like a sister to me today. She helped me navigate, you know, that space, being on campus, being in the business school, again, as a minority in that space. She kind of paved the way for me. So I had her during my undergraduate experience, and then going into my professional side, especially on the sports side, I had an advocate and an agent who I'm still very close with right now.
And I think it would just be important for us to also share, because some people on the call are probably saying, well, how do I get a mentor? And so I used to teach a session. And so it's really not like collecting stickers or playing Pokemon, but just literally just starting with having a natural conversation. So as you're going to networking events, you're going to different career fairs, just meeting people and just asking them, can I follow up with you? And just having those conversations and learning what your like interests are will spark a conversation. And then that person may naturally become your mentor, or they may connect you with someone. And that is some of the ways that I've been able to build a strong mentorship network.
Yeah, like some of the ladies were saying, mine came through internships. So having those opportunities, showing my value early on, really making connections with those people who remember you, and, you know, can speak highly of you, taking advantage of all of those opportunities, no matter where you are, if you like the job or if you don't like the job, finding those people that, you know, can really, really stand up for you and help you in those spaces where, you know, you're not necessarily the majority. Internships, I can also attest to that, were huge for me, especially in the sports world, where most of the time your opportunities are only internships. So a lot of the experience that I received, or I've had the, you know, the honor of having, are through the connections I built with people and all the opportunities that I had.
I love
Hey,
that.
Kaylynn,
Yeah.
I know you want to get off this, but I just have one thing I wanted to add before you jump us off to something else. I think it's so important, right, that Leonora started talking about trying to have a natural connection. So, by the way, don't run out and ask any one of us here to be a mentor for you. I think that's one thing that we just don't know. Like, as a college student, I didn't know. You see somebody, you kind of, it is a natural kind of connection. There is an interest both I would have for you and you would have towards me. But sometimes it really starts with asking that question. You know, Nashela, can I follow up with you about X? Now there's a reason why we're talking and not just jumping in. I saw you on a panel and I would like for you to be my mentor. And it's hard for us to sometimes navigate that if we don't have people like Tamara or like others who may have had others who've gone before us and can help us navigate that. So either we pull back and we don't seek out that relationship, right? And you may have multiple mentors. You may have some that are on personal level. You may have some that's professional level. You're gonna have different people in your life. But you really have to be the one to take charge of it. And I'll share one quick story. There's a young lady, she's 32 or something. And I've been following up with her. We had a connection. She wasn't maintaining, but I had an interest in her. I had an interest in her succeeding. And so I was following up with her. Recently, I said to her, she reached out to me and texted me and said, hey, how are you? And I said, oh, well, hello, out of the blue, how are you? And I said, and have you set up your 401k yet? And I asked her like 3 questions and she goes, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. We jumped on the phone call. She hadn't set up her 401k. You're 30. She'd been working for a while. So we actually then just sat down and went through. She was like, I was so appreciative of your asking me something that wasn't just, hey, how are you? But I had a vested interest in her from our past conversations, but it took her doing just a quick check-in with me. Hi, how are you? Led me to go down the road of all the things that I knew I needed to keep her accountable for. So just keep that in mind when you're keeping connections with people. Keep the connections that you really need, and they can be both ways, right? Your relationship can be both ways, not just one feeding it to you.
And I just super quickly on that point, I think it is important when you come into a relationship, a mentorship, that it not feel transactional, like that you have something that, a perspective that you're bringing. I recognize that it can be intimidating. I think organic relationships are the easiest way to build it. You work with somebody, or you have some or some connection. But sometimes you do have to step outside of your comfort zone and ask someone, or say, hey, I saw you on a panel. I'm also studying computer science. I heard you mention interns. Are there companies that you would suggest, or whatever? Like some very specific thing that you can, not just like, hi, hey, like, can you be my mentor? And if you engage or connect with somebody and they're kind of like, I'm too busy, I don't have time, then guess what? You didn't want that person anyway. So people will make the time for things that are important. And like most of us here, or all of us here, are busy ladies, boss ladies, and made time for this because of how important it is. So there's a vested interest that we have in your success. And we don't even know a lot of you, but it's just the connection of, your students, and it's just sort of all the things. So I like what's been said, and I just kind of wanted to add that, like, make sure you're bringing, maybe it's a set of questions or something to the table in the mentorship relationship.
No, I love all of your responses. And I think, you all touching on the fact that mentorship is really advocacy. I don't think a lot of students really realize that. A lot of people often think, or undergraduate students think, that mentors are supposed to do something for you, but that's not necessarily the case. They're in the spaces to, advocate for you and be there for you. But I also appreciate Nashela, for touching on the fact that, come with something. I think that's very, very, very important. Students, I want to make sure that, you all are listening. I want to make sure that you all are hearing these great nuggets that all of these women are instilling. And I want you all to write down or jot down some questions. If you can, put them in the chat. We're going to be doing a short Q&A in a few minutes. I do want to ask one more question before we get into our question and answer, but I would like to hear from you all. All right, with my next question, because this is Women's History Month, I want to keep it on the topic of women. Just really briefly, if you will, what is the most important thing that you've learned as a woman in corporate?
I can kick us off, and I would just say, please remember that you belong. I would say that, quite frankly, for Black women on the call, Black men too, but you have to know that you belong. You belong in the space, you belong at the table. You don't need to pre-qualify yourself to feel, that you should be in a space, on a panel, writing policy, leading a discussion, whatever it may be. And I say that with the caveat of I'm not advising to go in blindly without having some kind of context around what a meeting is, or who you're meeting with, or what the outcome you're trying to achieve. But I think one of the greatest gifts that I've received from my mentors, from my parents, leading as a Black woman in spaces where the assumption is there's lots of women. As I said, I've been in education, teacher, administrator, when 78% of principals around the country are white, and 63% of nonprofit CEOs and executives are also white. Those spaces are not really diverse. I will name, though, I thankfully work for an organization where that's not the case at our senior leadership, but we are very much an anomaly. You have to enter those spaces knowing that you belong. You do have to do the work in coming to those spaces, trying to understand, trying to figure out what you don't know. But you will experience sexism, you will experience racism, very much so, even in spaces that might be deemed more like progressive or liberal, because those isms, those biases, they exist. And I see the question in the chat. Someone said, how do you know when you're ready? You will just know. And I will also just say that you're ready now. And when I say you're ready now, I'm not advising, oh, just jump into a job where you have to raise $2 million and you have no experience, which is what I do, which is what I do now. But did Tamara have very specific experience of having raised $2 million before she came in? No. But Tamara had written policy. Tamara had brokered relationships with districts and also worked with like legislators. Tamara has written strategy and knows how to direct it. Tamara has been able to turn around schools. All of those things leverage and go into being actually to do the job that needs to be done. So again, I would just offer just telling yourself and knowing that you belong, you don't need to pre-qualify, do the work, lean in and talk to those in the organization, those of us on the panel and others who have had to navigate those spaces that are not necessarily welcoming, like in many ways, but don't think for one moment that you don't belong, and don't think that your perspective based on your experience is not valued. And also don't think that that those at the table, just because they may have more years, know more than you. It was already touched on, be a lifelong learner. That's also what has led to the success of myself, and I'm sure everyone on this panel, because what we don't know, we're going to find out, and we're going to continue to work and be at that table and figure it out along the way.
I love that. Be tight in your craft, be tight in whatever your thing is, like know your space, do your homework, and be comfortable in sort of being the knowledgeable in whatever that space is. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And don't be afraid to challenge things, and speak up for yourself. I think how you do it and all those things depend on the environment. Like there's some nuances there. That's where mentors and coaches and people can be helpful. There's a way to do that, but advocating for yourself, that's a muscle you should be learning in college, like going to those professor hours and doing the things that you know it takes to do what you have. Like there's those same skills that you'll use when you pivot into the corporate space. But I love the point on you belong, you matter, your perspective matters, and don't shrink, don't minimize yourself in those spaces.
No, I appreciate that, Tamara and Kimberly. Those are very reassuring affirmations for sure. And I wanted to hop right into our questions because we're running out of time, but this is so great. We have a question from Tiana Johnson. She asked, how have you navigated sexism in the workplace in a professional manner? Has it ever intersected with being a Black woman specifically? Anyone?
I don't, you said sexism specifically, or?
She did.
Sexism. Okay, so I've been working now for 20 something years and I never really think so much about navigating the space that I'm in as a female, except when I add Black female on top of it. I think that that's usually the caveat. I don't necessarily think of, something isn't for me because I'm female. Sometimes if I add Black female on top of stuff. So I'll say, I used to come ultra prepared for my meetings. I mean, I still do, but ultra prepared, like we'd have team meetings. I'd be the only female, the only one who wasn't a vice president at the time, reporting to like a senior person. And I'd be like ready with my things, blah, blah, blah. We'd be spitting ideas. I'd be like, shouldn't we be doing X, Y, Z? My white male boss said to me, he was like, listen, one thing I'm just going to share this with you. When you're right, you're right. And you're usually right. You're usually right. He was like, but in the day that you're wrong, be mindful that there may not be anybody willing to come to your side because you've been so right. And I was like, but that's odd. To me, I felt that was odd. I was like, I'm sorry, because I'm coming prepared and blah, 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 blah. But I did have to learn over time that like, it wasn't just that I knew my stuff and I was advocating for myself or speaking up or being one of the ones who would be vocal. It was also in delivery and style. And that some of that was pretty cultural. I'm a Caribbean woman, Black woman, and speaking directly is something that I just knew. It was just like very plainly like, oh no, we shouldn't do that. That doesn't make any sense. I had to learn how to navigate the road of how do you ask more questions? How do you listen more before you're ready? Although I already had the answer, but how do you listen more before you jump in? So I feel like over time I've had to learn, not just from a female or a sexist perspective, but just when I layer on top who I am and just being who I am, I had to learn how to see what it is and what they were potentially trying to say or navigating me towards, and figure out how I still say what I need to say in the way I need to say it, but just navigating that so it was more consumable and approachable for other people as well.
I appreciate that. And I am not trying to rush through, but I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to hurry up. We have to get to the raffle. I know that's the fun part for the students, but I know Tamara, she touched on Tamia's question about how do you know if you're ready. So Tamara, to me, I hope you heard that and I hope you took note. But I want to move down to Caleb's question. He asked you all, what is one thing that you wish your friend or coworker would have said or done to help you navigate in the workplace?
I think this is a great question. I'm assuming Caleb is a man. I apologize if you're not, but I think this is a great question to ask because I go through this all the time. Again, working in a space that is very male dominated, on both the on the field side and off the field side. Having again those people, those advocates that can notice and recognize when there are things that clearly are sexist or are putting me in a box that other people aren't in that same box, and calling it out. I do have a coworker who is a young Black man who is a certified agent. And so he has a little bit more of that power or authority to call out those things when he sees it happen to me directly. So in a professional way, of course, if you come upon those things, you see something happening that isn't fair, isn't appropriate, calling it out, whether that's in a meeting with that person and letting them know that that wasn't okay, that it was very clear that it was unfair towards that other person. Just being an advocate for women in this space, because sometimes it's very hard for us to always be advocates for ourselves. I've been called aggressive for calling things out that I see that don't happen just to me, but to other women. And having that tagline associated with yourself, it's really hard to sometimes come out of that and motivate yourself to continue to call out those things. So whenever you see it or encounter it, asking them how they can support, or how you can be supportive to them in that situation. Sometimes we might not need you to say anything, but knowing that you're there, that you're willing to, whenever we do need that support, is super important, at least for me. I can only speak for myself, but having those advocates that come to me and say, that wasn't cool, you want me to say something, and I'm like, yeah, please do, before I do, has been very helpful for me navigating this type of space.
No,
And I would just touch base on that real quick. We briefly touched on imposter syndrome, but I would say if you have been offered an opportunity as an internship or at a job, you earned it. And so if you're there, you belong. And so sometimes you will hear other people say, well, how did they get here? They don't belong. Just always know that you earned your seat at the table in the room, and don't allow the perception of other people to cause you to shrink or put yourself in a box, because the world does enough of that on its own. And so I would just encourage you, something that I didn't get in my early career, and I did shrink and I did put myself in the box. Just know you belong, continue shining your light, and keep moving forward.
I appreciate that. And Olivia, I definitely resonated with what you just said in terms of, you being called aggressive. I was often told I'm intimidating. And I'm like, me, I'm about 5'3", little girl. I don't understand. Like, how is that even possible? But I totally, Tamara, not you laughing at me. But I totally felt that. That hit my core. But no, yes, you do. I understood that. And I have one more question that I felt was too good for me not to ask, but I only want one panelist to respond to it. And it is from Celine. She says, have you ever had an accumulation of negative experiences working in an organization that made you question continuing working there, and how did you address it? Just one person, a brief, short answer, because we need to hop into what's next.
I don't mind and taking this. Absolutely. I think a couple of things. First of all, know when it's time to leave. Like, this isn't the time necessarily. If you find a place and you're there for 20, 30 years, wonderful. Generally speaking, that's kind of, what our parents or grandparents may have done. Like, know when it is time to leave. I'll say that, but then sort of addressing it. You definitely want to, speak up for yourself, confront the thing head on. And do so in a manner. I think we've all kind of talked about the approaches to it, how you communicate. Is there an ally or someone else that can kind of sort of help speak on your behalf? Being in the fight alone makes it really tough. So it is important to have a peer, a subordinate even, or it can be someone that's senior to you, but maybe in another area that can kind of help sort of fight the cause, if you will. But I do think it's very important to speak on those negative experiences, not let them continue. Don't put yourself in a situation. It's unhealthy mentally and very stressful to sort of allow for those things. It's one of those things where we could all help here, like with a little more specifics on how to coach and that sort of thing. So without having that, I think the punchline here is don't stay in any situation longer than you need to. Get allies and whatnot to sort of help fight the fight, if you will, and continue to speak up for yourself and be knowledgeable about your role in things. And are there things I could do different? I could say different. I could have been a little more prepared for this presentation or what have you. So it's kind of all the things. And that's where the mentor, the coach, somebody who's going to tell you what you need to hear can be helpful too in that.
Thank you, Kimberly. All right, really fast. I want all my panelists to unmute themselves and in rapid fire, about 20 seconds, give your final few nuggets that you want to leave off with the students here today. Go ahead. Anyone can start. Anybody?
I can start us off. Be a lifelong learner. Make sure as you grow that you're centered in your why and who you are. And always, always remember you belong.
Love that.
I would say, teeing off of that, because I was going to say something similar. At JP Morgan, we do have You Belong as one of our key tenants from our DEI perspective. You belong here, diverse, inclusive, together is what we say. I heard something recently that resonated with me, and I've been sharing it with every younger person that I have been talking to, and I had to internalize it for myself. You belong here. Yes, bring yourself and authentic self to work, but it does not mean to be unprofessional while at work. And so we just have to figure out what that means for your workplace, because sometimes cultures that are different, minority cultures, let's say, may be considered unprofessional. Hello, hoop earrings while I'm sitting at JP Morgan's business. But nothing's wrong with my hoop. They're not too big and I enjoy them and they're a part of who I identify as. And so I wear them. But while you're doing the you belong and that you should be here authentically, the key was making sure that you're not on the unprofessional side. That's not what it means to bring your unprofessional self to work.
And I'll go next. I would say, to piggyback off on Nashela, is to bring your whole self to work. definitely. Knock it out the park, build your network, and shine bright.
I can go next. I would say control what you can control. You can't always control the timing of opportunities or when things pop up, but when you are in those moments, you are capable. You are meant to be there, and you know your strengths. So when you do get those opportunities, just show your value. And like everyone said, just be you, be who you are.
And I would say don't be afraid to take risks. I think a lot of times as women, we're not, in some ways, we're not raised to take risks, or we're, you know, like it's, they're all these things in kind of our mind. So I would say don't be afraid to take risks. I would say make sure you have a financial advisor or somebody that can help you manage your money. We have some wonderful ladies on here with some background in that, but that's critical. Sometimes we don't take risks because we have certain financial things that prohibit us from doing things. So we stay in situations we should not stay in. We stay in them longer than we should. I would say focus on everything that was said here. So I'm trying to think of the different things. So I would say your mental health, taking risk, and being financially healthy as well.
Oh, and I'm unmuting myself. All right. Well, thank you so much, ladies. We appreciate you for your time this morning. It's about to be afternoon, but we still got a couple minutes before we're off the call. And I want to thank Ms. Craig and the Office of URELAH for hosting this Women's History Month panel. We appreciate you, and thank you to all the students that joined us this morning.
Thank you, Kaylynn. Thank you to our amazing panelists. I mean, I got to clap for myself. That was an amazing discussion. I'm so glad I recorded it from the very beginning because got called away, but I have to go back and hear those nuggets and write them down because you guys dropped golden nuggets for our students today. So thank you, thank you, thank you for your time. To our Hornets, thank you for joining us. I hope that you updated your name. I'm going to do this really quickly. I know I was supposed to let you out at 11:55, but I got you. So really quickly, I want to share my screen. And because we have some students who had to leave to go to class, I'm picking 2 today. You know, it's a gift card. I'll be in the office tomorrow or next week. You can pick it up in the library, room 200. Again, Office of URELAH. Oh, do we have? Okay, make sure that you reach out to me, DK Craig at desu.edu. Stop by my office tomorrow or next week. You can get your gift card. And for those who asked questions and were active in the chat, your name was added twice. So hopefully we get one more. And we have Lauren. Lauren is a winner almost all the time. So Lauren Smith, thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us today. To my Hornets, I hope that you got something out of this amazing call. I hope that you were able to connect with these panelists who have shared their contact information on LinkedIn. Reach out to them, ask questions, introduce yourselves, start building your network, start building your board of directors, as I tell everyone. And we here at the Office of URELAH, thank you, Ms. Terry, for being on. That's our program assistant. But here at the Office of URELAH, we want to make sure that you are continued to be empowered and poured into as a professional, as a leader, and that you serve this world that we live in, this global world that we live in, to the best that you can as a DSU alum. So have a great day. Enjoy your Thursday. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.